What would happen to someone who profaned the Sabbath? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Exodus on walking through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Exodus 31. We're going to be reading from verses 12 to 18. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Exodus 31, beginning at verse 12. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak also to the children of Israel, saying, Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. For whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. This is the final episode we have recorded of Moses' first ascent to the top of Mount Sinai. This visit started all the way back in chapter 25 and has taken us 32 episodes to cover. We have seen all of the instructions of how to build the sanctuary and holy items, and where those holy items would be placed in the sanctuary. We have seen the instructions for the institution of the priesthood, including the making of the priest's garments, as well as the consecration ceremony for the priests. The last thing we have recorded here in chapter 31 are the Sabbath day regulations. If you recall from chapter 20, keeping the Sabbath day was the 4th commandment given by God to Israel as part of what we call the 10 Commandments. Verse 12 and verses 16 and 17 make it clear who was to keep the Sabbath day. It was the children of Israel. Today there are some people who claim to be Christians who accuse other Christians that they are breaking the commandments of God by not keeping the Sabbath. Note the language in verse 12, however. Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. The sign was not between God and mankind, it was between God and Israel. Verses 16 and 17 go on to say, Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. Sabbath keeping was part of the covenant that God made with Israel, a covenant that was fulfilled by Jesus when he died on the cross, ushering in the new covenant with all people. As part of the new covenant, Paul wrote in Colossians chapter 2, verses 13 to 17, And you being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has made alive together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, having wiped out the handwriting requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us. And he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it. So let no one judge you in food or in drink, or regarding a festival or a moon or Sabbaths, which are a shadow of things to come, but the substance is of Christ. As shown to us by Paul, there were many things in the Old Testament that were shadows of the true image under Christ. Under the Old Covenant, the Sabbath represented a physical rest. What the Sabbath was a shadow of is the eternal rest available to those who are in Christ Jesus, saved by grace through faith. Let no one therefore tell you that you're not a Christian because you aren't keeping the Sabbath, for the Sabbath of the Old Covenant is not commanded for us today. We have a better Sabbath in Christ. For the Hebrew, however, under the law of Moses, this physical Sabbath needed to be observed, for it was a sign that God had sanctified or set apart the children of Israel from the nations around them. No other nation would keep the Sabbath day. They would work on what we call Saturday. Keeping the Sabbath for the children of Israel was to remind them of the true God of heaven, Jehovah, and how he called them out from among the nations to be his chosen people. They were to work on 6 days of the week, but on the 7th day they were to rest. What would be the penalty for working on or profaning the Sabbath? Death. It would be a capital crime to work on the Sabbath. That is why the Pharisees challenged Jesus in our study of Matthew for what he and his disciples did on the Sabbath day. They were looking for an excuse to arrest him and have him killed. Now, as we know, breaking any of God's commands was sinful, but some sins carried with it far greater earthly consequences. That breaking the Sabbath was punishable by death should tell the children of Israel of how special God viewed the Sabbath, a lesson we know they took to heart, as is evidenced in the New Testament by the many regulations they created concerning the Sabbath day. After speaking these things, God gave Moses 2 tablets of stone, known as the tablets of the testimony, that were written by the finger of God. We will find in chapter 34 what was written on those tablets, so we'll leave our comments on that until then. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Exodus chapter 32, verses 1 to 6, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
I'm not a
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.